Welcome to the very first video of Mind Body Anime. This is a channel where I'll be talking about personal development. I'm talking about real personal development, self-reflections of myself and my journey, and we're going to use a ton of anime references whenever we can, okay? Because I think there is a lot of fun stuff that we could draw on from the world of anime. So if you're more of a reader, I'm basically making a video version of my newsletter. You could check out my newsletter in the description below, but let's get into it. Today, we're going to talk about something fun, your past and future self. So let's start with memories. When we talk about memories, what exactly do we picture in our mental movie when we think about a specific memory? Mostly what we were doing at the time, right? And how we were feeling. Well, I found this relic. It's not really a relic, but it is the test prep book for the Naplex. Whenever I hold this book in my hand, I get a specific memory that jolts into my head. And that memory is of when I was alone 7 years ago, sitting in my bedroom, and I made a humongous decision that would drastically change the path for my future. And the thing is, if you can't tell from when I showed that book is still in its plastic wrap. There's no random coffee stains. There's no random rips in it from turning it 1,000 times. There's no dog-eared sticky notes on it or random highlights. It's because on that day, 7 years ago, I made the conscious decision to let that book sit in my closet and collect dust for a while longer. I didn't know how long, but it was going to collect dust for the time being while I figure out what I wanted to do with my life. And 7 years later, I still don't know the answer to that. So sorry to my younger self. I can say I'm a lot closer than before, though. So circling back to the beginning, when we think about memories, instead of how we were feeling or what we were doing, we often forget about who we were at the time. And that Kevin, in that specific memory, was scared. He didn't know what he wanted to do at that time. So making a decision like that to completely step away from the path that he was developing for the past 7 years didn't really make any sense to that person, that version of me at that time. So where did that courage come from to make such a decision that was completely out of character? Did it come from the divine, the universe, or maybe my future self? So a little more things about me back then. I had a lot of questions going through my head. I wondered whether this is really what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. Is my life really going to be that boring? When the real question I should have been asking myself was, what should I do to make my life an adventure? And that still stands to be the question that I try to answer to this day. And I think I'm closer than ever to figuring that out. So I have a lot of random theories about time and space and parallel universes and stuff, but we're not going to get into all that. We're going to get into something that's a little more practical. And our anime reference for today is Steins Gate, a really big favorite of mine. I think it's really underrated. And if you've never seen Steins Gate, I highly recommend you do. There will be some spoilers in here, so I apologize in advance for that. But let's get into it. If you've never seen Steins Gate, Steins Gate is about a ragtag group of friends in a science club. The main protagonist, named Rintaro Okabe, and they accidentally figure out how to create a time traveling machine using a microwave and a banana. So they were able to send messages from the present to their past to change their current present. And later on, when they meet neuroscientist Kurisu Makise, who ends up being Okabe's love interest, they actually figure out how to turn it into a time traveling machine where they could physically travel back in time. The entire series is developed around a single decision made by Okabe. Will he save the world or will he save Kurisu? Because all the lifelines that he ended up on, he couldn't do both. Either he saved the world, but Kurisu would be dead, or he saved Kurisu, but the world would be in an arms race racing towards World War III and the apocalypse. The point is, a sacrifice needed to be made. And that's exactly how I felt 7 years ago when I held the Naplex book in my hand. I needed to sacrifice a path that I was currently on to venture off into a new path. I needed to shed my identity from that time to become a new person. So going back to Steins Gate, with the power of plot armor, Okabe manages to figure out how to save Kurisu and the world. And who gave him these answers? None other than his future self from 15 years in the future. So we may not have the benefits of fictional plot armor, but we do have plot armor. I believe that whenever we make a decision, the universe will do its best to help support us in that decision. This is my own philosophy. It's not the universe's job to decide what fate has in store for you. It's your job to decide that fate, and the universe will help you along the way. So I know I'm making sacrifices today, but I see them as seeds of investment that my future self can harvest. And back then, when I made that decision to go on a separate path, I had a very strong gravitational pull towards it. I mean, I would have rather preferred a video message from my future self, but a gut feeling is good. I'll take that. And believe it or not, my future self has helped me make a lot of big decisions since then. I think a lot about what my future self is like. I think about what that man is like, how he acts, how he thinks, how he loves, how he feels. And it kind of helps me make decisions in the present. So whenever I have to make a decision, whether it's small or big, I think about whether or not this is going to take me closer to my future self or take me further away or do nothing. Just keep me in the same lifeline. And the chances are, whatever goal that you're pursuing right now, it's going to require an upgrade in your identity. You may never get a concrete picture of what that ideal future is, but you can still get clues from your imagination or through the power of visualization. Just how Okabe's future self appreciated and recognized all the shit that the present Okabe went through to get to that lifeline, to see the message from his future self on how to save the world and Kurisu.
はじめましてだな。15年前の俺。このメールを開いているということは、クリスを救うことに失敗したということだな。
I also appreciate my past self on all the things that I went through up till that point in time. Sometimes that stuff is necessary. That is the cost to pay to help you figure out what you really want to do. One of the things that Okabe's future self said to him really resonated with me. He said that the failures that Okabe's seen along the way, they were necessary to help him get to that specific lifeline.
クリスを救うことに失敗したということだな。さぞ辛かっただろう。だが、その辛さが俺に執念を与えた。だから、なかったことにするわけにはいかなかったのだ。いわば下ごしらえのようなものだな。これでやっと計画の本題に入ることができる。マキセ・クリスを救い、シュタインズゲートに入る計画だ。
So, all the things that I've done up to this point in time, I don't necessarily see them as failures per se, but I see them as necessary steps or trials that I needed to go through to get to where I am today. Everything happens for a reason. I truly believe that. I may or may not know the answer in that specific moment, but I know that the answer will reveal itself sooner or later down the line. And when that time comes, when I look around, I might realize that I'm in the exact reality thread that I wanted to be in not so long ago. And I know that a lot of us deal with uncertainty in different ways. Some of us are scared of it. Some of us are excited for it. What we have to do is create some semblance of certainty within that uncertainty. And there's a line by Okabe that says,
どの世界線のどの時間どの場所にいようとも俺はお前が好きだった
gives me the feels. We have to create some kind of certainty within the uncertainty of our future. And that just comes down to believing in yourself and having faith that the universe has your back and that you're on the right path. Sometimes I wonder if the version of myself back then would be proud of who I am today. And I think about the differences, the gap in identity from who I am and who that person was. And I think he'd be proud of the decisions I've made and the person I chose to become. And there's also the inner child that never grows up, that lives inside all of us. All I wanted to do when I was a kid was to be cool and successful. And at the end of the day, all I'm trying to do is make my inner child proud, make my past self proud, and I think I'm on my way. So, trust the process. I love the process. I'll talk to you next time.